it!
Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris Orme, and we're looking at Football Manager 2020 again, as we're in the new year, and we're trying to get this Academy series now in the second half, get this sort of wrapped up, get this information out to you as soon as possible so that you can improve your games as much as mine has improved over the last few years. So, staff room. People don't really seem to pay much attention to their backroom staff. They think if they got a good tactics and they get some good players, the staff doesn't matter, right? I mean, what kind of impact can they have? Do I really need to upgrade someone that's got an 18 physiotherapy to a 20 physiotherapy? Do I need scouts to have an 18 judging potential instead of my 16? I'll just deal with them when they run out the contract. Or when I'm taking over a club, I'll just let them be as they are, and I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it season 2. So many people think along those lines. One of the first things I do when I get into a game, I've got an idea of the tactic that I'm going to play, so I put that together fairly quickly. And then I take a look at my players, what I've got, what I think I need elsewhere. But I don't do anything about those. Like, I build the tactic very quickly, but I wait until I have my squad in place for really building it. I'll edit it to fit. And training, as we go throughout the season, I'll do that as and when it's needed. Morale is a constant management thing. But pretty much the actual first thing I dive into is the backroom staff. Any new club, any new save, straight onto the backroom staff. I hit F8, which takes me to this screen, where everybody is set up. And then I'm here on the overview, and I look at things. So, I look at what we've got and what we need, and make sure that that's okay. If I think we're low anywhere, I'm going to go ask the board for new staff members, and then I'll go into each group. So I'll go in and I'll have a look at, like, a head of youth, the head of youth development, my assistant, they're pretty big. I'll have a look at some of my coaches and be like, okay, I need to improve here or there. I'll make sure I have fitness coaches, goalkeeping coaches, regular coaches. I'll make sure everything is filled. I'll dive into my recruitment team and like, okay, let's get some good staff members in. Who's my chief scout? Do I like him? What about the rest of my scouts? Are they from different enough places so that they're not all scouting the same regions and they're not all sharing their knowledges, so they're not overlapping too much? I will go in and make sure that my backroom staff as well has the best medical department it can, because that's big. It prevents injuries as well as recovers from injuries. So I dive in on all levels, check everybody out, and I am not satisfied unless I am the best in the league at absolutely everything. And if I can't be there season 1, I will work my hardest in the off-season to get there for season 2. And I've never failed to get the best in the league before season 3. Even with smaller clubs, you can still hire low reputation staff members who are still as good at their jobs as other people. Now, I don't have a lot of control over my second team, and they don't have that many staff members. So I can't really expect them to be big. But as big as my first team is the lifeblood. It's the pathway. My under-19s, my academy, needs to be well taken care of. If I'm teaching them the right things, I've got a tactic for them to learn. I need somebody to train them in that tactic. I need good coaches for that youth team. I need them to be well looked after and their injuries taken care of. I need the best youth team, and for that I need the best youth staff. I need the best team in the world, therefore I need the best staff in the world. Jurgen Klopp said, I don't believe the confidence is thinking you know everything. It's knowing that you're good at a few things and you can do them well, but it is also realizing what you cannot do well. I can't do everything. So I need players around me to do those things on the pitch. I need medical staff to take care of the health of the players where I can't. I need this scouting department to work so I don't have to go out and do all that, and I can concentrate on managing the players and the games. And I can set up training, but I'm not out there in charge of it really, so I need the best coaching staff to handle that side of things. And again, all that boils down as well to the responsibilities. We'll look at that in a second. But people overlook this. This is huge. The worst club in the world with the best staff in the world is not going to stay the worst club for very long. Not by a long shot. Also, the best club in the world with the best players in the world with the worst staff in the world is not going to remain the best club in the world for too long. So, let's dive in with that philosophy in mind and see my important positions. If you can't get everything, what to focus on and what to look for those roles. So I'm going to set up my team in a certain way, and then with the responsibilities, I'm going to hand a lot of different things over to staff members. The one that takes the most is the assistant. So, okay. Assistant needs to be a good coach. But it tells you it needs man management, player ability, player potential. It needs to be a good judge of talent, and it needs to manage people. Okay, that's fine. It needs to be a coach, which is determination, discipline, motivating, and a various mix of these attributes. I tend to build young squads. Needs to be able to work with youngsters. Also manages friendlies, also gives a lot of tactical advice, needs to have tactical knowledge. Now, if I'm going to jump in with like 15s everywhere, I'm not going to get someone that does everything as an assistant for me. I can get close. Yeah, so he'd be a good defensive tactical coach. He works well with youngsters. He does some good things. He's decent knowledge-wise. Ability is there. He can judge some potential for me. And I mean, those two are what gain you these ratings in your squad. That's going to be your assistant's view on those players. So the better his ability and potential judging, the more realistic, within a limit, within a range, that star system is going to be to accurately portray the values of those players. I will also look at how they play. Now, I'm playing high pressing and high lines. We saw that in video 1. If you hover over here, it actually gives you a little graphic. So that's his team there in the purple, defending against the greens. That ain't my team. That is not my team. I'd have a striker in between those centre-backs, and I'd have the attacking midfielders. Well, I'd probably have the other striker on the defensive midfielder, and then my attacking midfielder would actually drop back in midfield. So I'd have a 4-3-2-1 kind of defensive shape, whereas he's gone 4-4-2 and parked the bus back there. He also prefers a 4-1-4-1 defensive midfielder wide. So flat back four with a defensive midfielder in front, a flat midfield four, and one lone striker. It's very defensive. I don't like that. It's one man up front. I much prefer two up front. Playing style standard, that would be okay. I like to attack, but we go about in different ways. So tactically, he's on a different page than me. It won't matter too much, but it'll matter enough. Perfectionist, that's a great personality. He's not going to overlook the details. That's great. He's going to handle a lot of responsibilities. I could do worse than Machena. I could play a more defensive style of football. I could set up a 4-1-3-2 maybe, with a defensive midfielder, back four defensive midfielder, midfield three, two up front. It's the tactic I'm playing now. But I'm playing an attacking midfielder instead of a defensive midfielder. That would be close. And I could park the bus on defensive and counter-attack, like I do on those really tough away games. But I want someone that fits me better. But yeah, we know he's really, really good. But again, he's not going to come to most clubs. Let's go down to 12s. 12s I now have a bunch of different options. I've got 16 different options. I got Jody Morris, who likes to control possession. That fits me. 5-4-1. Well, it's a little bit away from me, but direct, I kind of play short, but I do play direct at times. It's a little weird. But again, he's a pretty decent assistant manager. Fairly determined. That's a good personality. Don't mind that. And I can look here. Fluid counter-attack. Now we're talking. 4-4-1-1. Let's actually see what this looks like, this fluid counter-attack. Yeah, that's very similar to mine in the way we transition. 4-4-1-1. Well, I play a 4-3-1-2, so again, it's not really that different. You know, we have two strikers instead of one. We sacrifice a midfielder. We're narrow instead of being as wide. But he knows a lot of what we were going to play. And passing style, that's what we do. We pass quickly. We pass long. We dribble a lot when we get the ball to those front men. But we do play a counter-attack passing style with those. He'd be a decent assistant manager. He wouldn't be great, but he'd be decent. He can do training. Nothing really well, but he can do it pretty well. So yeah, again, not the best option. Waldock would not be a good coach. He's pretty much out of it there for me. Tassotti, I like Tassotti a lot. Vertical tiki-taka, it's kind of how we play as well. We mix that with the gegenpress. So, yeah. Instead of having a wide four in midfield, we've got a 3-1 attacking midfielder. Very narrow. So, again, that fits. Direct. Yeah, kind of. What a really weird mix in the way we play. So, he'd kind of fit. He'd be a really good one. But if you can't get anyone really good, then there we go. It's Bruno Pascal. He's in Switzerland at Servette's under-18s team. He's going to go a lot of places. He's got good tactical knowledge, judge players okay, good enough motivation. He's got some decent training ability, but like he'll go almost anywhere. Sylvain Legwinski, great pro in his day. He's a model citizen. Get those where you can. If we look at this, yeah, technical attacking wise, he'll work really, really well. He judges abilities really well. This would be a perfect little assistant manager. I don't know about his playing style. He's been retired for what? 12 or so years, but he's never really had a job sort of as a manager per se. Assistant manager at Monaco for a little while, and then worked his way back through the ranks and is starting to move up. But he's gone into scouting. So there we go. Okay, I had to click on assistant manager. But that'll show you. So getting impressed, that's what we play. It's what we play. It's the 4-2-3-1 wide. It's not a million miles away. It's, you know, one of those wingers goes up front, the other one goes into a midfield. So it's not a huge change. It's a little bit of a change. Again, would be a really good assistant manager, and his reputation isn't that high. So you can probably sign him. Doncaster have an assistant manager in Summerfield who can't really do training. He'll be okay at tactical training, probably. Works really well with the youngsters. Does everything else really good. Counter-attacking 4-4-2 direct. It's fairly loyal. Like, there's options out there. But this is my key man. This is my number one staff member. If I got a good assistant manager, he's going to run a lot of the game for me. And that means I can focus where I want to. Second most important of my entire setup is a head of youth. I need a great head of youth. I work with youngsters. I make sure that, you know, we're getting the best youth, developing them the best. So we're not having to spend millions on, you know, big name players. Not having to drop 150 here, 200 there. I'll do it, but I don't want to. But if I now look here at this head of youth, and we've got an absolute ton that are willing to join there with 14s. Yeah, we've got 73 on 14s. Now, okay, you need to be one of the best in the world to get Russo. That's fine. Lighthearted is in a very good place. Yeah, he's pretty good, but he's not amazing. He's not amazing. Route 1, 4-2-3-1 direct. It's not really my kind of style. Herrera, control possession. 4-4 and DM wide. Again, good but not great. Stefan de Jong, really nice. Tiki-taka, again, doesn't really fit. So we're looking, again, as if it's an assistant manager. He's got to be good at his job, and okay, he's really good at his job. Really, I want a 20 work with youngsters, 20 potential, and 15 or above in player ability. Because normally, they'll dictate how good the youngsters are coming through, how high their potential is going to be, and that's going to show how good they are now a little bit. It's going to, how good are they being coached right now? How much potential will they have? And the overall quality of the entire class is going to be there. So you want a good class with high potential that are okay or above. And you want a good personality that they will pass on to the players, because they do pass on to the players. And then these are the type of players that we'll get will fit in this system. So you want that to match ours as much as possible. Again, you don't need to be a great club to get these kind of things going on. You can go and try and turn this guy into a head of youth. 20, 19, 15. He's got very little reputation and everything. He was a head of youth at Palermo, that's why he's really good. Vertical tiki-taka, we like that. 4-2-3-1 again, not really too bad. I've played something similar to that. I've played a 4-2-2-2 DM wide. So there's two wingers, two strikers up front, and there's two defensive midfielders in front of a back four. And I play with Segundo Volantes in defensive midfield, and they're very adventurous. So he'd fit that system very, very well. And he'd be an outstanding head of youth. He'll bring through some great young players. And he's probably willing to join clubs much worse than ours. Cherubini, he was a scout at Juventus. He'd be okay. Again, very similar style. Available on a free. Bulgarian, not the best, but again, you're looking at a few things. But you're trying to find what you can wear. But you're also trying to find these model citizens if you can. For head of youth, if you can find a model citizen, half the battles. Jean-Michel Van Damme, pretty good head of youth. Not too far off fitting our system really well. Model citizen, we've got better. But, like I say, you don't need to be the best club in the world to get these. If you want professional players, get a professional head of youth. Resolute, driven, that's high determination ratings. Perfectionist, not a bad one either. Spirited's pretty good. Devoted, I think, is low ambition, and that will pair with players with low ambition, which means they're not going to develop quickly. So if they're really bad now, but with really high potential, they might never get there. They're not ambitious enough to work as hard as they should. But the options are there. And stay away from temperamental. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, definitely not. And try not to get like loyal or balanced either. But yeah, you should be able to get something pretty decent. So if I were to reduce the ability down to 12. And then push work with the youngsters up there. And there you can see. Fullerskirk is at Burnley. He's manager of the under-18s. But he'd make a great little head of youth. He likes a Route 1 442. Does that fit you? He'll bring through some professionals, which are always easy enough to work with. Really decent there. And again, he'll join pretty much anyone. Ilya Alexei, 20 work with youngsters, high potential there. Fairly determined. Check their style, see if it fits you. Again, we've got Van Damme, but we've also got Truls Jansson. Model citizen, really high there. Control possession, 4-4-2 standard. That would fit with my club. He would do a really good job at bringing through some youngsters. He's on like 1,700 a week. He's going to be a lot easier to get than someone like Batterson at Bordeaux. You know, you've got all these different ones on big wages. And even then, you've got these sort of fairly high reputation and rated people. You got Banzic at Dinamo Zagreb, who would be fantastic. Spirited's, well, it could be hit and miss. I might rule out that personality for getting him, but the fact that you can get him pretty cheaply and he'll be a great head of youth in some regards. Like, you shouldn't be worried about not being able to get the best. Like, FK Kairat in Kazakhstan. You should be able to lure him away, £500 a week. Wolfgang Geiger, he was one of our scouts. He left and went there. Again, you can see he's really pretty good, fairly determined. Generic kind of system. He'll fit in pretty much anywhere. So that's your number 2. Assistant, your number 1 hire. Head of youth, number 2. And then you can go through the list and decide what you want. You want a good chief scout and a good scouting department. They're going to be funneling a lot of reports your way. So, I've got Martin Glover. He's a really good scout. I've got other really good scouts then like Mitchell and Bath, and I think they're all like 16s or above. Most of them are higher than that. I've got them from all over the world. I'm paying some of them more than others. It doesn't really matter. Data analysts as well. I haven't got like super great there. You can see there they're in their teens. They're not really great. I could upgrade them. I've got one that's pretty good there, Dirksen. And my loan manager, I've got a decent one there. So you're just trying to get the best you can. Chief data analyst. Again, not even 15s for everything. It's a little bit lower than you'd want, but that's okay. Vega, very good technical director. Eugene, phenomenal director of football. Couldn't help but sign him up. Medical team, again, head physio. Needs to be a really good physio. Price is. Head of sports science. You're just looking at sports science. Again, Luthad is really good. And then just the best ratings you can to fill those out. And then coaching. A lot of these are going to be just for training, of course. But then your head of youth, I've gone with Pasotto, who is absolutely amazing. He's Juventus's. And then I found this little gem, who was actually a coach somewhere. So I got in a young Russian regen who works well with youngsters. He can train stuff really well. Great coach, great scout, good tactical knowledge. By no means perfect, but he's a really, really good one. He was actually coaching at Ural's under-18s. So we brought him in to replace Grillo, who was our assistant. So we can have a look at Claudio. And this is what we were working with the first two seasons. No weaknesses, solid training, okay with youngsters, decent coach, decent assistant, scouting, tactical. He did okay, but I wanted to move on. And as you can see, it's very close to what we would play. So that is fine. Good fitness coaches, you're looking at fitness plus the DDM, as I like to call it. Normal coaching, some way of working with the DDM, discipline, determination, motivating. Goalkeeping coaches, pretty easy to get good coaches if you're a big enough club. And then with the under-19s and stuff, you also want to hire them a manager for your youth team. So I tend to just go for an assistant, if I'm honest. So my assistant here is like a good coach and a little bit of tactical and man management. It's exactly the same, really, as what a manager would do. So just look very similar. This guy's a great manager for us because he plays the exact same formation we do. He plays tiki-taka, so he's not as pressing, he's not as direct as us. But the idea's there. It works. That's fine. That's why he's manager, not Pellegrino, because the formation's not there. But yeah, it tells you what each position is and what it needs. And if you can get the best coaches in, you're going to see your players get injured less, they recover quicker, they're much fitter, they're much more motivated, they're developing well in training. And those youngsters in your under-19s, they're going to start improving. They're going to start improving really well unless they're injured or have a bad loan deal. But they're all going to start improving. They're going to be ready for the first team quicker. You're going to be able to sell them for profit or play them. You're going to be able to sell your first team players for a huge profit and replace from within. Right? The backroom staff is key. And of those, your scouting department should be a third really your third objective. Because they're going to find you your players. Your head of you is going to bring players through your club. You need someone really good there. That's your second objective. Your first is your assistant, because they might end up controlling half your team. And if we look here, I handle the team selection. I pick the team for the games. They pick the team for their games. I hire and fire everybody. I've handed over coaching. But I hire, fire. I do all the contracts. I let the B team be handled by technical director as well. I've got good staff that give me good reports. Scouting, chief scout sets it up. My director of football handles the meetings. I don't deal with that. I just deal with the reports as they come to me. Bringing in players and contracts is all me. Oops. Loan manager sends people out on loan. I redo all contracts. I think that's just default offering. And then my head of youth for the new signings. They're normally youngsters. It's within his wheelhouse. Pre and post, I give that to Eugene. He's not doing much else. And then pre and post match tunnel interviews, I give to my assistant to deal with, because I hate the interviews and whatnot. I just really don't like talking to the media very often. So I let them deal with that. General training's my assistant. I set up their managers or assistants, depending who's good, for the other teams. I take the individual training, though, because I think that's key to setting them up to play in the roles that my tactics want. Because otherwise they'll be trained in weird roles to increase their versatility or whatever. Not got time for that at all. Opposition instructions, I set those up as generic, and I don't want anyone to mess with those. I've got my head of youth, because he's so good at judging people, to provide my suggestions. Before that, I think it was actually Eugene who was doing it. Scouts are normally really good, but you can't choose those. So if you've got someone with high judging potential and judging ability, they might choose some good potential lineups for you. Your assistant should be able to, but you can always kind of dial back on those ratings and set up, like I say, your head of youth or your director of football to actually do that and kind of counteract that weakness that you might have there. Again, set them up to do certain things in the reserves. And then matches. My assistant takes charge of friendly matches. I do everything else for matches. But there's quite a lot of weight on that assistant to do a lot of things. The training, which I then modify. All of the different meetings and everything that I'm not doing the interviews. So it needs to be a key appointment. So like I say, assistant first, head of youth is second importance, scouting third, then I'll set up the coaches and the physios, and I won't really mind too much if they're not the best at first. They'll get there, and they'll get there quickly, but it doesn't need to be the best right now. So it's my ideas on how to set the backroom staff up, why I think it's important, and why it's overlooked. What to look for in terms of which are the key personnel, and the stats for all your opportunities that you're going to want to take advantage of. Assistant needs to do more than the stuff it shows you. Needs to be a bit of a manager, bit of a coach, bit of a scout, and do his assistant manager duties. So, as well as know some more tactical stuff as well, which is kind of management stuff. So that's one I go heavy on. Everyone else, I just take what the game shows me I need and work from there. But when you've got a good backroom staff in place, you're going to get the best out of the players you have. With the morale video we just did previous to this one, video 3 in the Academy series, you're going to learn how to keep your players at a good level. Training's going to develop them the most and keep them fit. That was video 2, and that's going to work within the framework of your tactic, which was video 1. You can see how we're building. each step on the other. You get all that sorted, you can have a good time. All you need now are good players to go in it and good youngsters to develop for the future. That's video 5. That's coming soon. So I'll see you then. Until next time, y'all take care of yourselves, behave, and I'll see you soon.